I worked real hard north of Northwest Highway. And okay, the district, the top of it is sort of Britton Road, 23rd Street, MacArthur, and over here is Western, although down south it's Class. So I worked real hard north of Northwest Highway. I got south of Northwest Highway, but how far did I get down? I think I got down south of 39th Street, but not very far past 39th Street. And I had somebody tell me, in fact, a long time ago that, you probably only have to knock on 6,000 doors. And of course, when he told me that, I went, is that a lot? Is that not very many? I don't know, And he was right. He said I could stay north of Northwest Highway, and he was totally right, yeah. And I think one reason for that is there's more voters north of Northwest Highway, but also a lot of the homes north of Northwest Highway have a lot of voters per residence.
So that's families, but that's also in-laws living, or
I don't know. Some of it I think is people that have college kids.
Okay.
That are off to college, but they're still registered to vote there, maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah, that could be true.
Yeah. But that's just my estimation. And then, the general election against the Democrat. I don't know if this is useful for you since you're kind of concentrating on the GOP. District-wide, I got 55% versus 45%. And in 196, we got 57% versus 43%. So we did a little better in 196. But again, is that because I worked the neighborhood better than I did elsewhere? But I don't know if you know this, but my Democratic opponent lives in 196.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why I wanted to be sure we had plenty of signs.
Yeah.
In 196.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to kind of just run through these questions.
Sure, yeah.
And you can answer them however you'd like, but I guess I'll start where we were just talking about. And you knocked on a lot of doors in 196 and in this particular area of town. What did you experience? What was it like?
Let's see, what is it, 2.5 years ago? Yeah, 2.5 years ago when I started considering running, I was told that you got to knock on doors. Because I asked folks, I said, what would I have to do and what are my chances of winning? And they said, well, you got to knock on doors. And so, as I said before, I was told, well, you could probably only knock on 6,000 doors. All right, so I thought long and hard about that. Okay, I think I probably took a month, maybe a month and a half thinking about that. And I went, can I knock on that many doors? I mean, can I do that? And I'm being a doctor too when I'm trying to do that. And so I finally decided that it was something I could do, all right? And so I made a commitment to do it. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to ask people for money because I'm running for office and I'm trying to win this office, I got to do what these people are telling me to do, because it's going to be a waste of my time and other people's money if I don't do what they tell me to do. So I made a commitment to knock on the doors. All right. Now, was it going to be fun? I went, gee, I don't know. Is that fun to knock on 6,000 doors? And I don't know how many doors I knocked on, okay? I have the paper lists at home. I guess I could count up the little check marks, but I doubt I will ever do that. But I'm guessing I knocked on at least 6,000 doors, but I don't have a clue. Well, you know what? Knocking on doors was fun. It really was. Now, am I a social person? I guess I am compared to perhaps my siblings. I've never run for office. I've never been in politics. I've never wanted to be in politics. Now, when I was in the 9th grade, I was the president of the National Junior Honor Society, okay? Didn't do anything. And then my senior year of high school at Putnam City, I was the senior vice president. Didn't do anything there either, really. But so I guess maybe I'm a little more outgoing than the average person, but I can't say I'm real outgoing. But I think the advantage I had, and what made it fun, was that I've got a 45-year history in the district. I know the people in the district, and I know the district. Literally, 3 of my 4 public schools, well, not all PCIs, started out at a school called Luther Burbank, which was in the Oklahoma City School District. But 3 of my 4 schools, public schools, are in the district. 3 homes over my lifetime are in the district. 3 churches over my lifetime are in the district. And the best story I have, though, is when I was knocking on doors 4 times I knock on a door, the homeowner comes to the door, looks at me and says, "I know who you are. You're Irvin Yin. I worked with your mother at the Medical Research Foundation for 20 years, and I'm voting for you." 4 times that happened. And so, yeah, it was fun, amazingly, which, of course, my wife was quite shocked when I told her that. But it was fun. It was not hard work. It wasn't hard work at all. It was very, very time-consuming. And typically what I would do is I would try to get off work at the hospital at 3 or 4 o'clock, go knock on doors until the sun went down, and then go home and heat up my leftover dinner, and then get up the next morning and go to the hospital and do it all over again. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, that's a really good answer. Oklahoma is considered a strong red state, and all indications are it will go Republican in the general election. But there are many shades of red in Oklahoma. And talk a little bit about the diversity among the Oklahoma GOP voters.
I think particularly my district, and even more so in Precinct 196, I think we have more moderate Republicans. I really do. I think there's portions of the state that have, pretty far right conservatives and pretty far left conservatives. But I think my district is more moderate, and I think Precinct 196 is that way too. And for me, that's a good thing, because I don't consider myself a far right radical. Okay, I'm more middle of the road, and I think that's how you can get things done. Okay, people on the far right and the far left, I think, just say and try to do crazy things. But when you're more middle of the road, I think you can get more stuff done. And I think that's a huge advantage for me to be the senator from this precinct and this district, because I think I can do things here in this building, and I won't get backlash from my voters. I think they will understand I am trying to do the right thing.
When we look at the primary, and I believe you're supporting Rubio.
Yes.
Correct? When you look at the primary, that's what's happening now. As far as momentum, how much of an impact is momentum going to have on our voters here by March 1st?
Oh yeah, I think it's huge. Now, I will tell you that a year ago I would not have predicted we would be where we're at. I mean, like most people, I'd say there's no way Trump's going to be in it, but I'd be wrong. And of course, I think the reason this has happened is there's a significant number of Republicans who are sort of sick and tired of Republicans saying one thing but not doing it, especially in Washington, D.C. Okay? And I think that's why Trump's still in the lead. Now, do I think Trump's going to be the nominee? I doubt it, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Now, I will tell you that about a year ago, I supported Ben Carson. I liked his views, and, I'm a doctor, he's a doctor. I got to have breakfast with him. He's a really sharp guy, real sharp guy. And so I was supporting him, although I knew that there was a good chance he might sort of fall by the wayside. And I think that's what has happened. And why has that happened? I think he's a real sharp guy. A lot of people believe he lacks leadership abilities, which, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But I think primarily his main problem is he's not dynamic enough. He's too nice. He's too gentle. And I think the average voter is looking for somebody that's more in your face, which certainly Donald Trump is. But I will also say that I think it was in the second debate, Carson got asked about vaccinations. The moderator said, you know, Mr. Trump says that autism is caused by vaccinations. What do you say to Mr. Trump? And Carson said, well, first of all, autism is not caused by vaccinations. However, and he said this, he said, however, some of my pediatrician buddies believe that perhaps we give too many vaccinations too closely together, okay? In my opinion, that is wrong, okay? And I think the vast majority of doctors would say that is wrong. And at that point in time, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I thought to myself, he didn't mean what he said. He was just trying to be the kinder, gentler candidate. Yeah, I don't think he really meant it. But anyway, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But I think Rubio is a sharp guy. You know, some people say he's too young. Well, you know, I mean, that's okay. He didn't do very well in the last debate, of course, but I don't think that'll hurt him in the long run. You know, I mean, I think he's had a good response. He said, I messed up. Yeah. It won't happen again. I hope he's right about that. But he's a sharp guy, and I think, as a lot of people say, he's probably got the best chance of beating the Democrat, whoever that might be. I still believe it'll be Hillary Clinton, but she's kind of got a little bit of a fight, you know, for her, doesn't she? But yeah, I like Rubio. He's a good guy. I got to meet him about a year ago, and I had breakfast with Carson, and yeah, what a super guy. But yeah, so I hated to see him fall by the wayside, but I'm not surprised. But so yeah, momentum certainly is a huge thing in this race, and you know, Trump's in the lead, but if and when those other Republicans drop by the wayside, who are those folks going to support? I'm going to guess it's not Trump. And so I think it could be very easy for one of the other Republicans to surpass Trump when the others drop
out. Getting kind of back to this precinct just for a bit, Governor Fallon barely won this particular precinct we're talking about in a re-election bid. And I guess what we're kind of, the question with that is, what does that say about the GOP's grip on these urban GOP that have been historically GOP?
Yeah, I think what it says is that there's a significant number of people in 196 that believe in being physically conservative. But on social issues, they're much, much more open than perhaps the GOP is, at least the GOP leadership. How about if we say that? That's what I think. Okay. Yeah, and I think 196 is that way, and I think my district is that way too.
There are a lot of voters in this precinct that are committed to voting against whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be, but they're a little bit divided over the Republican candidate. How do you think that gets resolved? How does that great debate get resolved?
Well, I think in Precinct 196, I think most voters would hesitate to support Cruz, okay? And so, and I think a lot of them would hesitate to support Trump as well. So I think when some of the lower tier candidates drop out, I think there will be more support in 196 for somebody other than Cruz or Trump. That's what I think will happen. I don't think Cruz's numbers will go up very much when the other folks drop out, and I don't think Trump's numbers will go up much. So it'll be somebody else, maybe Kasich, maybe Rubio.
We polled this district, and it was primarily Rubio. Of course, that's a few weeks ago. There were a couple of Trump people. Do you think that Trump's just too out there for a lot of voters in that particular place?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And you know, I think there's a significant number of voters in my district, and probably in 196 that you know, Trump years ago was sort of a Democrat. You know, but then again, I guess a lot of us were Democrats in our younger days. So I guess I can't hold that against him.
Okay. That's pretty much, just make sure I got all these. Let me ask you this, if Cruz were the nominee, do you think Republicans would reluctantly support him, hold their nose, and go to the polls? And
ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. In 196, would people vote for Cruz or the Democrat? That's what you're asking.
I guess it wouldn't matter if who the Democratic nominee was. If it was Bernie.
I'm going to say, I would guess that the moderates in 196 are going to vote for Hillary over Cruz. I might be wrong. Now, if it's Bernie, I think they'll vote for Cruz. But I don't think it'll be Cruz. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Again, a year ago, I thought Trump would be gone. But
How do you think they'd receive Rubio? It seems like that would be pretty good territory for him.
Yeah, I think it would, yeah. Yeah, I think Rubio's got a great chance in 196. In my district, I do too, yeah.
Why is that, do you think?
Oh, because he doesn't say crazy things. But, you know, our foreign policy, our current president, I think has done some things, in my opinion, that may be irreversible, okay? And I think there's a significant number of voters who are worried about our foreign policy. And I think Rubio's pretty good on foreign policy. I think he is.
What do you think are the most important issues to those voters in 196?
In 196? You know, most of 196 probably aren't that worried about economic issues. Certainly there's a little bit of it that might be. But I think they're worried about our safety, our security here in America, okay, and overseas. And so I think that's why they would like Rubio. I think he's pretty good on that. And you know, he's you know, Hispanic. That's like I think I had an advantage in my election being Asian. I think kind of the people in my district sort of thought, hey, that's kind of cool. And you probably know I'm the first Asian American in this building ever in Oklahoma history, ever. Now, I didn't do this to become that, but I'm proud that I am. And you probably know that last year, on the other side, they elected Cindy Munson, and she's the first Asian American on that side of the building ever. Yeah.
Her district also falls within this precinct as well.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And also, you may not know that my Democratic opponent was a guy named John Handy Edwards, and he's half Vietnamese. So we knew going into the general election that Oklahoma would have the first Asian American ever in the legislature.
Why do you think Munson was able to win? I mean, if you looked at that just as an observer?
I would say, okay, it's a special election. Turnout's going to be low. They knew it was going to be low. Who votes? Well, you got to be really motivated to vote in that. And I think the people that were motivated were the people that a candidate actually came to their doorstep and talked to them. If the candidate sent somebody, they probably aren't going to go vote. In fact, they might even go vote for the other person, okay? And I think she knocked on many, many, many more doors than her opponent. I don't think her opponent, well, I'll put it this way. I talked with people in 196 or in 85, House District 85, that the Republican never knocked on their door. And she knocked on their door 3 times. And these are Republicans. And about 2 weeks before the election, I was talking to one of my volunteers who lives in House District 85, and he said in his neighborhood he saw more Munson signs than her opponent. And this is in the neighborhood that David Dank, the previous representative, lived. I went, really? And when I heard that, I went, she's going to win.
Yeah, it's a sign.
Yeah. Now, she's got to run again this year. It's a presidential election. Voter turnout will be dramatically different. So it's a different ballgame this year. I would guess that the Republican will win, but who knows? It just depends on the Republican candidate. And as I told you, the Republican candidate has got to be out there knocking on doors. And her opponent was a perfect example of how, in spite of having way more money, in spite of having lots of endorsements, he still lost. As I was told 2.5 years ago, if you want to win a state house race or a state senate race, you got to go knock on doors. And they're right.
Very good. That's where we'll leave it. Thank you.